The debate around the state of capture report continues with the founder of the Decolonisation Foundation, Mzwanele Manyi, saying the Advocate Thuli Madonsela destroyed reputations of cabinet ministers and of Eskom CEO Molefe by taking untested allegations and making them public in order to make unconstitutional recommendations. Mzwanele Manyi says the state of capture report is nothing more than a wishy-washy document. The founder of the Decolonisation Foundation, Mr. Jimmy Manyi, Mzwanele.
That's it.
We did say the last time, right,
yes,
that Jimmy must fall.
Has fallen.
Has fallen already, so yes. Mzwanele is the way to go.
Mzwanele is risen.
Now, some of your colleagues, commentators, analysts, are saying, but why is Manyi still going on even when the public protector has published the state of capture report? That should lay the argument to rest once and for all, that there is a problem with the Gupta influence on state affairs, particularly during this time of President Jacob Zuma.
Yeah, no, that's what I was hoping for with the public protector report, that's what we're going to have. Instead, what we've had is a serious travesty of justice. This is what has happened. What we have, one was hoping that was going to be a proper report with proper findings, proper recommendations, then we know what to do. Instead, what we have, firstly, you have a document, I don't even think should be called a report. It's not a report, this is just a collation of complaints, untested complaints, allegations after allegations and all that. And you have a document that is full of, it may be, it's all this inconclusive language, it would appear. If this has happened, I mean, you look, for instance, when they deal with the issue of Jonas, for instance, to say, is that what happened in that case? And then the report would say, if indeed what Jonas is alleging, then it's a breach of ethics code. But it's not breach because they have not conclusively established that.
Well, but the public protector is arguing that she was given limited resources, she was given limited time, and some of the people who should have assisted with the work that she did were not available. And that is why the final main recommendation is that all of the allegations that she has been able to unearth should be tested by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry.
That's why it was important that this thing should not have been rushed, because here we're dealing with a public protector office, not an individual. The office is still standing. There's no issue of rushing here. South Africa is here forever. So what should have happened, she should have done what she could do and then hand over to the next public protector who was going to just finish the job. So what we have now, we have a serious travesty of justice. We have people that have now, as a result of how the matter has been handled, people that have got to fight for their lives now to prove themselves innocent. We have people that have sort of been painted by a dirty brush of corruption by virtue of them appearing in this report, as it were. So now everybody must say, oh, you are there, and therefore you are corrupt and all that. And up until that judge pronounces, those people will always be under a cloud. And the fundamental principle of being presumed innocent until proven guilty has been breached. People that are there now have been deemed guilty until they prove themselves innocent. To prove that, you already have the DA calling for the motion of no confidence on the president, yet there's no guilty verdict. There's not even a finding of anything wrong. You already have people calling for Brian to resign and all of these people to resign because an impression has been created that now we have conclusively decided on anything which is not true. This is a problem. In South Africa, we have a rule of law. The manner in which this thing developed leaves a lot to be desired.
But now, the thing is, the reports around the Gupta family have been going on for some time, right?
Yes.
And many people say, now this lends credence to the truthfulness of the suspicions and the rumors. On that basis, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry must go ahead. And in any event, it's the courts that ruled that it should be made public anyway.
Yeah, no, we welcome the fact that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry must proceed. In fact, it should have much more broader scope. it should not just focus on the 2 or 3 complaints. In fact, South Africa was hoping to get a report on the state capture. This is what South Africa was hoping for. Instead, we got something else. We got really an issue around one family and so on. And the interesting thing is that also this report has got elements that are not transparent. There's one complainant there who has not been disclosed, and I don't know who that is. But at the same time, without that complaint being disclosed, we also end up with a report on Eskom. I don't know who complained about Eskom. That 355-page report, 255 pages of that are dedicated to Eskom. For us as a Decolonisation Foundation, we are wondering whether is there no private sector company that is still fighting its beef about having lost a contract.
I spoke to the EFF, right,
Yes.
earlier, and they are of the view that this confirms once and for all that the president is captured and is under the control of the Guptas. And they say, that some ministers were appointed by the Guptas after all,
But
and they call the
based on
shots
what?
in terms of.
Based on what? Let me tell you what that report says, or what that document says, because I don't call it a report. Number one, on Mcebisi Jonas, for instance, he made the allegation. By the way, it's still an allegation up to now. He made an allegation that he was offered his position and whatever. What does this document say? This document says the observation is that cabinet or the executive did not investigate this. Now, the executive, how can the executive it's not in the brief of the executive to investigate anything, especially of this nature, which is a prerogative of the president. The public protector, this is her primary responsibility to investigate. We've known this. ABC was out there on TV and everybody knows this, so she's not telling us anything new. She was there to make sure that she gets to the bottom of it. She's got powers to subpoena
but here's the point.
and all that.
Here's the point, Mzwanele, that, ANC stalwart, Save South Africa campaign, EFF, COPE, UDM, DA, they are all saying that we have a problem here in South Africa. They went out in marches and so on. The media overall also sharing that sentiment that there is a problem in this country. And I spoke to Floyd Shivambu, who says, in which world does Manyi live? And she shouldn't be taken seriously because there's a common understanding of what's going on in the world.
No, I think the difference between me and most other people is that I'm not gullible. I'm not gullible. I'm not at the mercy of the media narrative. You don't cook up stories for me and then I just lap them. I use my own brain. I've got my own independent brain that I use. And also I'm a creature of the Constitution. I'm a creature of rule of law. In terms of our democracy in this country, we've got Chapter 9 institutions whose role it is to protect our democracy. Now, if you have a Chapter 9 institution like the public protector, who you give a brief to say, investigate this, now, instead of investigating this, they actually come up with terms of reference for somebody else to investigate. This is the problem that we have. We're sitting here, we should have had a solution from the public protector's office, and we don't.
But why didn't the courts say that then? Because they are custodians of the laws of the country and have to interpret them on our behalf. If you are interpreting it that way, shouldn't they have interpreted it the same way themselves and say, oh, this did not go far enough, it's going to cause this kind of damage, that kind of damage,
no,
as per some of the interdicts?
The courts are correct in making sure that there's separation of powers. The courts did not deal with this report. The courts, for all I know, they haven't even seen this report because the courts only pronounced a couple of days ago to say this report must now be made public. They were dealing with the process, not with the substance of the report. The courts have not engaged with the substance of this report. It's only when it gets taken on review that those kinds of matters are going to come up. Then we're going to see that, in fact, the only concrete thing that we have in this document are the remedial actions. But even those remedial actions are unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional to do the manner in which Thuli has said this thing must happen. She is saying that there must be, President must appoint a judicial commission, tick. She goes further, and then she says the Chief Justice must solely select this judge and then president gets one. So basically, the Chief Justice becomes a de facto appointer. Now that is a violation of Section 84 of our Constitution, which gives the power only to the president to appoint.
Let me ask you then, how does South Africa get out of this current situation? Because many sectors now, including the CEO's pledge and other people across different sectors of our society, believe that we are in a crisis and that there is corrupt relationship between the president and the Guptas, and this is taking South Africa nowhere, and it is a matter that must be addressed urgently, as per the stalwarts, including the former president Thabo Mbeki, who's written to the president.
No, I think it's important for all of us not to be subsumed into a regime change narrative, because we have a lot of regime change narrative at play here. We should not succumb into that narrative. We should understand that there are people in this country that have been beaten in the polls. There are people even within the ANC that are not where they thought they should be. So there's a lot of disgruntlement. And there are people that want to undermine democratic centralism. There are people that want to undermine democracy. If you want to remove the president, we've got a clear democratic process how to do that. They've been failing to beat the ANC in the polls. They've been failing to beat the ANC at ANC conferences.
But it's the ANC people themselves who are saying that.
Exactly, but I'm saying that the elections of the ANC are never unanimous. It's always President Zuma, as we sit here now, won 75%. Some of those people you're talking about are some of the 25 that lost in Mangaung. So we must be, alive to that fact that some of them are the ones that wanted to be presidents themselves, wanted to be deputy presidents themselves. They failed to achieve this.
Now, there's a call that the president must resign, right? And that sentiment is growing by the day, it appears. Do you share that view, or do you have a problem with it? And if so, why? Because the increasing allegations is that the relationship between the president and the Gupta family is undermining the interests of the country. What is your view? Should he resign?
The president should not resign, because the president has been elected in a proper manner. There's a ballot, there's a process. So if anyone has got a problem with the president, then we must go through a democratic process. As we see it here and now, the African National Congress president was elected by 75% of the branches. In the elections of this country, 2014, people with their eyes wide open, they voted for a President Zuma-led ANC. And beyond that, beyond the Concord decisions, beyond all of those decisions, we've had a proper way of trying to remove him in terms of motion of no confidence, and that has not succeeded. Parliament of this country, elected by the people of this country, has said the president must proceed. Now we have these groups of people that do not want to accept democracy. We've got these groups of people that think they're above the law. We've got these groups of people that do not want to accept defeat, and now they're holding the country to ransom. They are totally out of order. We've got processes in this country. You can't, just because you've lost elections, you can't get away, and then you start doing Zuma must fall, save South Africa. We've got processes. We must respect the decisions of Parliament. We must respect the decisions of the courts. We must respect the decisions of the ballot box. Otherwise, it's a banana republic.
Mzwanele Manyi, thank you very much for talking to us.
Okay, thank you.
Much appreciated.